explaining wood release, aka Mokuton, if you are a sub and or Japanese specific viewer, right? Liking the actual origin names of that, right? By Swagkage. Swagkage has an excellent series going up on this. I'm not sure if I'm going to cover all of them. I might not. He has an excellent series out on this, and I figured that as somebody who was in Naruto for a hot minute, to the point that I played the TCG on a competitive level, I figured I'd offer a little bit of insights into it and see if I could add anything, see if anything got missed, see if I could add any more context to it. But you know what you should do is after this, if you liked this or this interests you, you should absolutely go check out Swagkage. He does put out awesome videos, not just on Naruto, not just videos like this, just kind of explaining mechanics of it. He does put out discussion videos, lore videos, also goes into things like Dragon Ball as well. So if you are interested in that, you should definitely go hit him up.
Alright, what's poppin' everybody? Swagkage here, and today we're going to be talking about Wood Release, a nature release Kekkei Genkai created through the union of Earth Release and Water Release. Wood Release is, without a doubt, the most powerful nature transformation in the entire series, aside from, of course, Yin-Yang Release. Well, it's never outright stated in the manga or the anime. There are plenty of things throughout the series that lend credence to this, like...
So I will say that, and I mean, some of this actually kind of translated over to the CCG a little bit. We had some pretty bonkers wood style jutsu in the game. I mean, like, I came in at past Shadow Truth, Weapons of War set 21, set 22, and set 20 Avengers Wrath was 26. Set 26 we got Spontaneous Tree Summoning, which was one of the most busted like cards I've ever seen, and it was just Danzo summoning a tree in the middle of his fight on the bridge, right? But part of why wood style actually has as much presence as it does is its innate nature to just absorb chakra, which is very interesting when you think about it. And there's absolutely parallels you can draw from the the Shinju tree, right? The divine tree. There's parallels you can draw from that and how that absorbs chakra into how effectively, because the Otsutsuki exist, it's just ninja space magic for all intents and purposes. I know they're going to get comments about that, but let's be real, right? It's ninja space magic. It's kind of metal, actually, when you say it like that. And, that is kind of a interesting thing to consider. And yeah, wood release has not been used by really a extensive cast of characters by any means. We have Madara Uchiha being probably the second most known practitioner, specifically after grafting part of Hashirama onto himself. We have Hashirama Senju. Hashirama is able to graft portions, not graft portions. He just innately has a Senju DNA. However, you have his siblings. You have Tobirama. I mean, his father, I'm assuming if his father could use it, wouldn't his father in the Warring States era use wood style? Especially because of how omnipresent it could be and how literally OP it is. So what we're trying to say here is, and there's an important thing to note about Kekkei Genkai, is that it's theoretically possible to have a Kekkei Genkai combining two natures, so, right, water and, earth, right, Suiton and Doton, in a Kekkei Genkai form to make Mokuton, wood style, right, wood release. But you could theoretically have something like, water and, wind release, right, and you could have ice style, but you could also have, snow release, depending on, what you have. Just because you have fire and lightning, which can theoretically make blaze release, and Sasuke, because he has the Mangekyo, specifically Mangekyo is going to say internal, but just the Mangekyo, right? Doesn't mean that there can't be another Kekkei Genkai out there that isn't fire and lightning as well. Canonically, up in the air, depends on writing and stuff like that. But out of all the natures, aside from Yin-Yang release, which specifically Yin-Yang, not Yin, not Yang specifically, Yin-Yang release, I would put Mokuton wood release definitely up there at number 2. It is, even without the Shinsu Senju, even without being able to control tail beasts, even without some of that OP regen hacks that wood style users seem to have, but I think it's more Hashirama's body than anything. It really is just that oppressive.
Hashirama being considered the strongest shinobi of all time. Plenty of characters going through the trouble of having Hashirama's cells spliced into their body so they could gain access to wood release, etc., etc. Now, I'm sure many of you guys already know all of this and more about wood release and are just wondering what makes it so powerful. Why is the ability to create and manipulate wood so hacks OP in a world where shinobi can split atoms and slice apart mountaintops with their chakra?
I think it's also chakra cost. I would say that Onoki and Mu a live moon, not reanimated. That's a little different, right? That wood release doesn't have an extreme chakra cost from what it seems like. It seems like it has a pretty just normal chakra cost, where something like Jinton is going to have an just a exponentially greater chakra cost in comparison. That is also kind of a weird, I guess, not necessarily false equivalence, right? But that's kind of a weird take to have as well, because of how much chakra Hashirama had. But for what it does, and for the amount of chakra that it seems to consume, I mean, it seems like it hits that nice balance of power to chakra cost ratio.
Well, here's the thing. Now, like I said, wood release is still probably the strongest nature transformation in the entire series, outside of yin yang release, of course. But Hashirama was the only person to ever naturally possess wood release, and Asura Otsutsuki does too, if you count the filler with he and Indra. And Hashirama was really strong. None of the people provided with Hashirama's DNA ever matched his skill with wood release. Yeah.
I will say that if you're looking for a modern, like, Jonin level practitioner, definitely look at Yamato. Look at feats by Yamato. And if you're looking at, like, main character tier, well, I was going to say Obito, but even then, that's not necessarily genuine, because Hashirama is, for all intents and purposes, technically main character tier because of Ashura, right? No, like, Yamato is going to be your average wood style user, I would argue. Danzo would be your Kage level practitioner. You get to, like, Obito, you get to Hashirama. They're like the S+ tier of the Shinobi verse. Let's be real. like ranking structure, right? You're realistic examples. If you were to say drum up an RPG, right? And like, oh, I want to generate this ninja with wood style. I have Senju DNA, right? You're looking at something more akin to Yamato or Danzo, I would say. Maybe with certain chakra reserves like Danzo and Orochimaru at the highest tier, but I don't think that Hashirama is necessarily a good benchmark.
Yamato, Danzo, Obito, hell, even Madara couldn't do half of the things with wood release that Hashirama could. And this is because Hashirama just had stupid amounts of chakra reserves. Yeah. Like, they may as well have been endless. Now, that's not to say Hashirama is the only reason why wood release was as powerful as it was. Just that wood release does have a whole lot more potential than any of the other nature transformations, but it takes a whole lot of skill and even more chakra to be able to use it to its fullest capabilities. Now, again, this isn't directly stated anywhere, but it's supported by quite a few statements from various characters saying that Hashirama's chakra is very difficult to control, and the fact that more powerful characters have better showings with wood release. Madara's wood release techniques were stronger than Yamato's were, and Hashirama's were stronger than Madara's. So yeah, I'd say it's safe to assume that all of this is pretty concrete. Still, even wood release's lower level techniques are pretty intimidating and versatile. Yamato's possession of wood release alone was enough to make him a trusted member of Danzo's root organization, and Yamato was capable of doing things like creating houses, trapping targets inside of wooden stocks, creating wooden cages and barriers, and he was also able to apply wood release's ability to suppress chakra. That's another thing wood release can do, by the way. I don't know.
That alone is one of those things, to be able to suppress chakra. It's kind of like how when I've gotten into discussions about, like, Gundam tiers, right? Like, if you immediately have fins, funnels, fangs, as they're called in Double O, right? If you have any sort of those funnels, bits, fangs, like, you're already just in a different category, right? You're not necessarily being paired with a Zaku. You're not necessarily being paired with a Jagan, right? Talgeese, right? You're being kind of paired maybe with, like, other Kyublei. You're being paired with, like, the Hyakushiki, maybe, depending if Quattro / Char is piloting it, right? Like, it's those extra little bits that just make it go nutty. Like, if you think about it from, like, a TCG standpoint, right? Like, a card standpoint, right? If you have a card Magic, right? And it's costs 2 red and deals 3 damage versus a card that costs 2 red and it deals 2 damage, but for every tapped card your opponent controls, you can do an extra damage, right? Which one of these are you going to play? One of these you get extra goodies on, right? And that's what it comes down to. There's just a lot of goodies. There's a lot of positives that come with something like wood release. And, we didn't really see that. I don't think the chakra suppressing nature in the CCG as much. We had We actually really didn't have that many, now that I think about it, especially towards the end game after like Shattered Truth and stuff. We had spontaneous tree summoning. That was nutty. But, I mean, I just don't really remember. Most of it was Uchiha, no hand water until about rotation, about set 24. Yeah. Pain. We don't talk about Pain. Pain ruined the CCG. Pain is one of those that was weird. It's like colorless and magic, but like slightly to the left, and it really made the game balance go wonky.
Know why wood release is capable of suppressing chakra, but it can, so there you go. The extent to which it can do so is entirely dependent on the power and skill of the user, and it doesn't seem to have any artificial ceiling either. Using a technique called 10th Edict on Enlightenment, Hashirama is able to suppress the power of the tailed beasts, so yeah, it's pretty crazy. Speaking of Hashirama, wood release's higher level techniques are absolutely nothing to laugh at. These include the ability to create wooden clones similar to shadow clones, but not exactly the same thing.
I think the shadow clones, if I understand it correctly, because it was Tobirama that made it, right? It was made as a derivative from the wood clone technique, if I understand that correctly. So think about it that way. Naruto's signature jutsu, his shadow clone, Kagebushin, right, is a derivative of the wood clone initially.
The ability to create exploding wooden dragons, a technique that allows the creation of an entire forest from absolutely nothing.
The dragon can also drain chakra. This is important. So say if you had Shikaku, right, the one tails out, or even the Kyuubi, the nine tails out, and that dragon wrapped around it, it could start draining chakra from it to suppress it as well.
A technique that can create flowers capable of emitting poisonous gas, a technique that allows the user to create an enormous chakra-reinforced wooden golem that's pretty much invincible, and of course, the most powerful wood release technique, Sage Art Wood Release True Thousand Hands. Essentially a 1,000-arm wooden Buddha Gundam mech, powerful enough to keep the entire Shinobi Alliance at bay at the same time, including the third Hokage, and to easily wipe out a Susano'o cloaked nine-tailed fox. What I get from all of this is that the applications for wood release are endless and are only limited by the user's chakra and their imagination. The amount of different things Hashirama has been able to do with wood release is astounding. Like, it really is absolutely nuts. So I'm pretty sure that it's impossible for me to list every single application that Mokuton has. As you can probably tell for yourself, however, a common theme among wood release techniques is either the focus on the creation of a structure or on overwhelming a foe with ridiculous amounts of brute force. And of course, there are some wood release techniques that focus on both. Any techniques that break this trend generally focus on wood release's ability to either create full-blown trees or other kinds of wooden plants. While some of these still focus on overwhelming an opponent with brute force, like wood-style deep forest emergence, others serve the purpose of a support jutsu, like many of wood release's other techniques do, without coming in the form of a structure. So instead of creating a cage to trap somebody in, a wood release user can create a flower that emits a poisonous gas, like I mentioned earlier. So with all of this in mind, I'm pretty sure you can fill in all of the blanks for yourself and figure out what wood release is and isn't capable of. As with many other aspects of the Naruto world, there are still quite a few unanswered questions floating around about wood release, so it's impossible for me to tell you everything about it, but like I
think that's going to be one of those situations, unfortunately, like Kekemura, where we won't actually truly understand the full extent. I do think Hashirama was kind of that sweet middle ground, right? You know the saying that hard work beats talent every time, but what happens if you have hard work and talent, right? How you have both of those working in tandem with each other to achieve new heights. I think that's what Hashirama was. It's that, one, he had access to Mokuton. He had access to using this form, right? And second, it was that he had just stupid amounts of chakra. We're talking like, Ashura, right? Stupid amounts of chakra, more so than Naruto had, I would argue, due to being in the Warring States era and, needing to use his chakra to literally survive in the Warring States era. So, I mean, it's kind of this meeting of natural skill and talent meeting one of the most busted, I'm just going to say forms of magic, right? We know what we're talking about, right? Forms of magic in the entire series, and him having the just chakra reserves to kind of experiment with that. So yeah, in a situation where he's going to be all or nothing, maybe he's against several Uchiha from other clans that are aligned with Uchiha, right? Maybe he's going to pull his, last man standing, last ditch effort. Yeah, I'm just going to use whatever chakra I can to summon whatever. Bam, Shinsu Senju, right? Something like that. Absolutely. It could be like that. It's that he had the time, he had the talent, he had the ability to not only learn, but progress and effectively just reach to the stars.
Said, hopefully everything in this video will help you fill in any blanks that you need to. So with that said, that concludes the wood release video. Next time I talk about a nature transformation, it's going to be particle release. I'll let the comments here decide which of the Kekkei Genkai nature transformations I tackle after that. Thank you guys for watching the video all the way to the end. Love you guys to death. Hope you have a fantastic day, and goodbye. I'll talk to you later. Swagkage out.
You are correct, Nightwalker.
Speaking of Hashirama...
Yes, you're correct. He was effectively the peak of both worlds. He had the natural talent and potential, but he also had to train hard, especially with the era, the Warring States era that he was in. Absolutely. He could have very easily just gone into obscurity, and he didn't. Like, remember, his brother, him and Tobirama's brother, was effectively ganked by the Uchiha clan in that era. So he had the natural talent. He had the natural ability. He had a lot going for him. I think if you're looking at a homebrew setting, if you're looking at a setting in which you're looking into playing someone with wood release, you are looking at someone that is going to be Yamato. You're looking at someone that's going to be on his power level. At most, you're looking at Danzo, or if you're like in limit break, so to speak, you're looking at like white Guruzetsu covered Yamato, right? Because he's still summoned, not the true, Senju, the true 10,000 hands, but he summoned the 1,000 hands. So a little bit of a lesser form, but still enough to cause some damage. Last, what are your guys' thoughts? What are your guys' thoughts on a homebrew setting? Did you also play the Naruto CCG? Do you remember some of the Hashirama cards? You remember some of the wood style jutsu? What's your thoughts on the wooden Buddha Gundam mech? That is the Shinsu Senju, as well as, I guess, on the Gundam argument, right? Do you agree that if you have certain things, right? Say it's that laminate coating from, was it Iron-Blooded Orphans? Or if you have, I don't remember what it's called, I'm just going to say laminate. That's definitely not the word, though. Or if you have those funnels, fangs, or bits that were mentioned, right? Does that automatically put you up a tier? If you have a new type frame, right? A new type can interface with the suit. Is that going to put you up a tier versus something like, your standard Zaku Jagen ball, if you will? Let me know all that in the comments section. Please be civil. And, yeah, I will see you in the next one.